Before we dive in, please remember that this video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional career or financial advice. The world of professional certifications is constantly evolving, so it's crucial that you conduct your own thorough research before committing your time and money to any program. The right HR certification is a career cheat code. I'm not exaggerating. For a fraction of the cost and time of a master's degree, the right letters after your name can unlock a salary bump of $20,000, $30,000, even $40,000 a year. It can be the single deciding factor that gets you that senior manager title you've been chasing. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Choosing the wrong certification is like flushing $1,000 and 100 hours of your life straight down the drain. It's a useless line on your resume that hiring managers will just glance over. Think about it. You're good at your job. You handle employee relations like a pro, you navigate the complexities of benefits administration, and you know your company's policies inside and out. But you're stuck. You see the job postings for HR business partner or director of people operations, and they all have one thing in common: SHRM-CP or aPHR preferred. You feel that pit in your stomach because you know you can do that job, but you don't have the credential. You're on the outside looking in, while others with those certifications are on the fast track. That's why you're here. You're ready to invest in yourself, but you're paralyzed by the options. It's an alphabet soup of acronyms: SHRM, HRCI, aPHR, SPHR, GPHR. It's confusing, it's overwhelming, and you're terrified of making the wrong choice. Well, take a deep breath. This video is going to be your strategic roadmap. Over the next several minutes, we are going to cut through all the noise and all the marketing fluff. We are going to break down the best, most respected, and most valuable online HR certification programs available in the United States today. I'm not just going to give you a list. I'm going to give you a decision-making framework. For each major certification, we will dissect who it's for, what it costs, how hard it is to pass, and most importantly, what kind of return on investment you can realistically expect in the American job market. By the end of this presentation, you will know with absolute clarity which certification path is the right one for your specific career goals. I've spent hundreds of hours digging through the data, analyzing thousands of job descriptions on LinkedIn and Indeed, and speaking with senior HR leaders and recruiters to understand what they actually look for. I've done the homework so you don't have to. So where do we start? To understand the world of HR certifications, you first have to understand the Great Civil War. That might sound dramatic, but that's what it was. For decades, there was one undisputed king of HR certification: the HR Certification Institute, or HRCI. Their credentials, like the Professional in Human Resources, the PHR, were the gold standard. If you were serious about HR, you got an HRCI certification. Period. But then, in 2014, everything changed. The Society for Human Resource Management, better known as SHRM, which was the massive professional organization that had actually created HRCI decades earlier, decided to break away and launch its own competing set of certifications. It was a seismic split that sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Suddenly, there were two major players, two rival philosophies, and a whole lot of confusion for HR pros like you. This is the single most important thing you need to understand: the fundamental difference between SHRM and HRCI. It's the choice you have to make right at the beginning of your journey. Let's break it down in the simplest terms. HRCI is the traditionalist. It's the original. Their certifications, like the PHR and the SPHR, are heavily focused on technical knowledge and legal compliance. They test your knowledge of the law, the policies, the procedures, the foundational black and white rules of HR. Think of it as being tested on the what and the why. What does the Fair Labor Standards Act require? Why is this particular I-9 documentation necessary? HRCI proves you know the essential body of knowledge required to operate effectively and legally as an HR professional. It's respected, it's established, and it signals technical mastery. SHRM, on the other hand, is the modernist. They came in and said, knowing the rules isn't enough. In today's world, HR professionals need to be strategic partners to the business. They need to be leaders. So SHRM developed a competency-based model. Their certifications, the SHRM-CP and the SHRM-SCP, are designed to test not just what you know, but how you apply that knowledge in real-world business situations. They use situational judgment questions that present you with a complex workplace scenario and ask, what would you do? It's less about reciting a law and more about demonstrating leadership, business acumen, and communication skills. SHRM is about proving you can be a strategic HR leader. So you have this core conflict. HRCI's knowledge-based approach versus SHRM's competency-based approach. One isn't inherently better than the other, but one is likely better for you right now in your career. Are you trying to build a rock-solid foundation in HR fundamentals and compliance? Or are you trying to position yourself as a strategic business partner who can sit at the leadership table? This choice between the two titans, SHRM and HRCI, will be our starting point. In the next part, we are going to put their flagship certifications head-to-head. We'll compare the SHRM Certified Professional against the HRCI Professional in Human Resources. We'll look at eligibility requirements, exam costs, pass rates, and which industries tend to prefer one over the other. But don't think that's all there is. Once we've covered the two giants, we're going to explore specialized certifications that most people overlook, credentials in areas like talent acquisition, compensation, and HR analytics that can make you an indispensable, high-earning specialist in a sea of generalists. This is your path to standing out, and we're just getting started. Let's start by shattering a myth. The myth that a general HR certification like a SHRM-CP or a aPHR is your golden ticket. It's not. It's the price of admission. It gets you in the door, but it doesn't get you the corner office. In today's world where AI can automate scheduling, payroll, and basic compliance, the HR generalist is becoming a vulnerable species. The real security, the real money, is in becoming the person who can solve a company's most expensive, most complex problems. And those problems are almost always specialized. Think about it. What keeps a CEO up at night? It's not filing I-9 forms. It's why can't we find enough senior software engineers? That's a talent acquisition problem. It's are we losing our best people to competitors because our compensation structure is outdated? That's a compensation problem. It's how can we predict who our top performers will be next year and stop them from leaving? That's an HR analytics problem. The person who can answer even one of those questions is 10 times more valuable than the person who can do a little bit of everything. So, while we will touch on the foundational certifications, our primary focus is on the credentials that make you that specialist. The ones that turn you from a cost center into a strategic, profit-driving partner. Let's begin with the lifeblood of any organization: talent acquisition. This isn't just posting jobs and praying. This is human capital strategy. It's marketing, it's sales, it's data science, all rolled into one. If you want to become a master in this domain, a true headhunter that companies will pay a premium for, you need to look beyond the basics. The first certification on our list is an absolute game changer for anyone serious about sourcing and recruiting. It's the Certified Internet Recruiter, or CIR, from AIRS. Now AIRS has been a leader in recruitment training for decades, and the CIR is their flagship program. This isn't high-level, fluffy strategy. This is tactical, in-the-trenches, digital detective work. The CIR teaches you how to find the unfindable candidate. You will learn the art of advanced Boolean search strings that go way beyond and/or. You'll learn how to X-ray search websites like GitHub, Stack Overflow, and LinkedIn to uncover profiles that are hidden from 99% of other recruiters. They teach you how to find passive candidates, the top performers who aren't even looking for a job, by following their digital footprints across the web. This certification transforms you from someone who waits for applicants to a proactive hunter who can build a pipeline of A-list talent for any role, in any industry. Who is this for? It's perfect for new recruiters who want to build a powerful technical foundation, but it's also incredibly valuable for experienced TA professionals who need to sharpen their digital sourcing skills. The cost is typically in the range of $1,000, which includes the training and the exam. It's an investment, but the return is immediate. When you can walk into an interview and not just say you're a good recruiter, but you can actually whiteboard a complex sourcing strategy to find a purple squirrel candidate for them right there on the spot, you've just justified your salary and then some. The CIR gives you that technical confidence and credibility. It's a signal to employers that you understand the modern mechanics of finding talent online. But what if you want to move beyond the tactical and into the strategic? What if you want to be the one designing the entire talent acquisition machine, not just operating it? That's where our second recommendation comes in: the Talent Acquisition Strategist, or TAS certification from the Human Capital Institute, HCI. HCI focuses on the big picture, the business-level impact of HR. The TAS certification is all about elevating your role from a recruiter to a strategic partner. It covers topics like workforce planning, where you learn to analyze business goals and predict future hiring needs. It dives deep into developing a compelling employer value proposition, or EVP. This is the why someone should work for your company over another. You'll learn how to build a recruitment marketing strategy using social media, content, and branding to attract talent instead of just hunting for it. It also covers critical metrics and analytics so you can measure the effectiveness of your TA function and speak the language of the C-suite, the language of data, ROI, and business impact. The TAS is designed for more experienced TA professionals, HR business partners, or HR leaders who want to build and lead a high-performing talent acquisition function. The program is more intensive than the CIR, often delivered through a multi-day virtual course, and the cost reflects that, usually running a few $1,000s. But the payoff is a seat at the strategic table. A SIR helps you win the battle for a single candidate. A TAS helps you win the war for talent in your entire industry. It's the difference between being a great fisherman and being the person who designs the entire fishing fleet, knows the best fishing grounds, and can predict the tides. Both are valuable, but one clearly holds more strategic power and earning potential. So you have two paths in talent acquisition: the CIR for technical sourcing mastery, and the TAS for high-level business-aligned strategy. Many of the best in the field actually hold both, creating a powerful combination of tactical execution and strategic vision. This is how you become indispensable. You can build the plan and you can execute it flawlessly. Now, once you've mastered the art of bringing incredible people into the organization, you face the next million-dollar question. How do you keep them? More specifically, how do you pay them in a way that's fair, competitive, and drives the right behaviors? This brings us to one of the most lucrative and misunderstood specialties in all of HR: compensation. Most HR professionals are terrified of compensation. It's a world of spreadsheets, market data, statistical analysis, and high-stakes decisions. But that fear is exactly your opportunity. Because so few people are willing to master it, those who do become incredibly valuable. A great compensation expert can literally save a company millions of dollars by preventing turnover of key employees, ensuring pay equity, and designing incentive plans that actually fuel growth. They are the architects of the financial relationship between an employee and the company, and that is a powerful place to be. We're talking about building salary structures, conducting market pricing, designing executive compensation packages, and navigating the complex legal landscape of pay equity. The path to becoming a compensation guru is demanding, but the rewards, both financially and in terms of impact, are immense. And the certifications in this space are your roadmap to getting there. We'll break down the best ones, starting with the gold standard recognized by every major corporation in the country, the Society for Human Resource Management, or SHRM. If the world of HR was a professional sport, SHRM would be the league office. It's the largest, most influential professional organization for HR on the planet, with over 300,000 members in 165 countries. When lawmakers in Washington, D.C. want to understand how a new labor law will impact businesses, they call SHRM. When a Fortune 500 company builds its HR department from the ground up, they use SHRM's framework as their blueprint. Getting a SHRM certification isn't just getting a piece of paper. It's like getting a passport that's recognized and respected everywhere. It tells the world you speak the universal language of modern, effective human resources. So, what makes their certification so powerful? It all comes down to something called the SHRM Body of Applied Skills and Knowledge, or the SHRM BASK. Now, that sounds incredibly corporate and boring, but think of it like this. The BASK is the official playbook for what it takes to be a rockstar HR professional in the 21st century. It's not just about knowing the laws or how to fill out paperwork. SHRM's entire philosophy is built on the idea that a great HR person needs two things: technical knowledge and behavioral competence. First, you have the HR functional areas. This is the what of HR. It's the stuff you'd expect: talent acquisition, employee engagement, compensation and benefits, learning and development, employee relations. This is the bedrock knowledge. You have to know how to legally and effectively recruit, retain, and manage people. But here's where SHRM changed the game. They realized that knowing what to do is only half the battle. The other, more important half is how you do it. That's where the behavioral competencies come in. These are the superpowers of HR. We're talking about things like leadership and navigation, the ability to guide your organization through complex changes, ethical practice, being the moral compass of the company, business acumen, understanding how the business makes money so your HR initiatives actually drive profit, not just create feel-good programs, communication, relationship management, critical evaluation. These aren't just soft skills. They are the strategic tools that elevate an HR administrator into a true business partner. And every single question on a SHRM exam is designed to test you on both of these pillars. It's not just what does the Fair Labor Standards Act say? It's here is a complex business scenario involving an employee pay dispute. Considering the Fair Labor Standards Act, your company's financial position, and the need to maintain employee morale, what is the most effective course of action? They test your knowledge, but more importantly, they test your judgment. This entire framework leads to their two flagship certifications, the SHRM Certified Professional, or SHRM-CP, and the SHRM Senior Certified Professional, or SHRM-SCP. Let's break them down, starting with the one most people will aim for first. The SHRM-CP is for the operational HR professional. This is the person on the front lines making things happen day to day. You're the HR generalist, the recruiter, the benefits specialist. Your job is to implement policy, support employees and managers, and ensure the HR functions run like a well-oiled machine. You're not necessarily setting the company-wide strategy, but you are the one executing it flawlessly. To even sit for the SHRM-CP exam, you need to meet specific eligibility requirements that blend education and experience. If you have a bachelor's degree in an HR-related field, you need just 1 year of professional-level HR experience. If your bachelor's degree is in something else, say psychology or business, you'll need 2 years of experience. Don't have a degree? No problem. SHRM recognizes that experience is king. You can qualify with 4 years of hands-on HR experience. They also have paths for those with master's degrees or postgraduate certificates, which can reduce the experience requirement even further. The exam itself is a 4-hour, 160-question marathon. It's a mix of knowledge-based questions and those famous situational judgment questions I mentioned. The situational judgment items are brilliant. They'll present you with a realistic workplace scenario and give you several possible responses. Your job isn't to pick the one textbook answer, but the one that is the most effective. This is what makes the certification so valuable. It proves you don't just know the rules. You know how to apply them in the messy, complicated real world. The SHRM-CP is your seal of approval that you are a competent, trusted, and effective operational HR professional. But what if you're beyond the day-to-day? What if you're the one creating the policies, not just implementing them? What if you're sitting in meetings with the CEO and CFO, shaping the future of the entire workforce? That's where the next level comes in. The SHRM Senior Certified Professional, or SHRM-SCP. This one is for the strategic leaders. You're the HR director, the vice president of people, the chief human resources officer. Your focus isn't on individual employee issues, but on the entire ecosystem of the organization. You're thinking 3, 5, 10 years down the road. How will automation affect our workforce? What kind of leadership development program do we need to build our next generation of executives? How do we design a compensation and benefits strategy that makes us the #1 employer in our industry? The SHRM-SCP proves you can operate at this high altitude. The eligibility requirements reflect this. They are much stricter. With an HR-related bachelor's degree, you'll need at least 4 years of strategic HR experience. With a non-HR degree, it's 5 years. And if you have a master's degree in HR, you'll still need 3 years of strategic level work under your belt. The key word here is strategic. They want to see a track record of you not just managing HR functions, but designing them and aligning them with the core objectives of the business. The SCP exam is the same length and format as the CP, but the difficulty is dialed up to 11. The scenarios are more complex, the stakes are higher, and the correct answers are far more nuanced. It's designed to separate the managers from the true leaders. Passing the SHRM-SCP is a definitive statement that you are one of the top strategic minds in the human resources field. It tells every executive board and every recruiter that you have the skills and the judgment to lead an organization's most valuable asset, its people. So how do you choose? CP or SCP? It's a question that trips up a lot of people. The best way to think about it is to look at your daily work. Are your responsibilities primarily about service delivery and operational excellence? Are you the go-to person for getting things done? That's the SHRM-CP. Your world is about application and execution. Or is your work primarily about planning, vision, and high-level decision-making? Do you spend more time designing the why than managing the how? Are you influencing other leaders and linking people's strategy directly to financial outcomes? That's the SHRM-SCP. Your world is about synthesis and strategy. Don't just look at your job title. Look at your actual day-to-day function. It's better to be a rock star at SHRM-CP who is a master of their craft than to barely scrape by the SCP exam when you don't have the strategic experience to back it up. Be honest with yourself about where you are in your career right now. Both certifications are incredibly valuable and respected, but they represent two different stages of an HR career journey. Earning the CP is often the perfect stepping stone to eventually gaining the experience needed for the SCP. Ultimately, whether you pursue the CP or the SCP, you're aligning yourself with the industry's most recognized standard. You're investing in a credential that immediately signals your expertise, your commitment to ethical practice, and your understanding of HR as a critical business function. In a competitive job market, that signal is priceless. So SHRM is the undisputed heavyweight champion, but they have a legendary rival, an organization with an even longer history and a different philosophy on what it means to be an HR expert. And for some roles, especially in global corporations, government, or highly specialized technical fields, this other certification is actually the one that hiring managers look for first. We're going to break down that powerhouse, the HR Certification Institute, or HRCI, next. For decades before there was a SHRM certification, there was HRCI. Think of it as the original gold standard. Established way back in 1976, HRCI was the organization that created the entire concept of a professional credential for human resources. For a long time, if you said you were certified in HR, everyone knew you meant you held an HRCI certification. It's independent, it's globally recognized, and its entire mission is built around one thing: proving you have the knowledge and judgment to be an effective HR professional. Unlike SHRM, which bases its certifications on its own body of applied skills and knowledge, HRCI's exams are developed by subject matter experts from across the entire profession. It's less about one organization's philosophy and more about a universal, tested standard of competence. This is a key reason why you see HRCI certifications heavily favored in government contracts, in highly regulated industries, and in global corporations that need a standard that isn't tied to one specific American professional body. Seen as more objective, more rigorous, and by some more prestigious. So let's break down their lineup, because they have a credential for nearly every stage and specialty of an HR career. First up, we have the entry point, the aPHR, or the Associate Professional in Human Resources. This is your ground floor. This is the certification designed for people who are just starting to dream of a career in HR. Think about college students majoring in business or HR, or professionals looking to make a career change from, say, administrative work or even customer service into the world of people operations. The beauty of the aPHR is that it has no experience requirements. You don't need to have worked a single day in an HR department to sit for this exam. Its purpose is to demonstrate that you have the foundational, textbook knowledge of HR principles. We're talking core employment laws, recruitment basics, and fundamental HR operations. Getting your aPHR is like raising a flag that says, "I'm serious about this. I've done the work. I speak the language. Give me a chance." For hiring managers looking at a stack of resumes for an entry-level HR assistant role, the candidate with the aPHR often gets a second look because it proves initiative and a baseline understanding that they won't have to teach from scratch. Now let's move up to the big one, the workhorse of the HRCI family, the PHR, the Professional in Human Resources. This is one of the most recognized and respected HR certifications on the planet. The PHR is for the hands-on practitioner. This is for the HR generalist, the HR manager, the person who is in the trenches every single day, implementing policy, handling employee relations, managing benefits, and making sure the operational side of the business runs smoothly. To even sit for the PHR exam, you need to prove you have real-world experience. The requirements are strict. You need at least 1 year of professional-level HR experience with a master's degree, 2 years with a bachelor's degree, or 4 years of experience if you don't have a degree. HRCI is making it clear. This isn't a theoretical exam. This is a test of your ability to apply knowledge in practical, real-world scenarios. The exam is heavily weighted towards the tactical and operational aspects of HR, employee and labor relations, business management, talent planning, and total rewards. A picture on your resume tells a company, this person knows how to run an HR department. They can handle the day-to-day challenges, they understand compliance, and they can execute our people strategy effectively. It's a credential that signals proven, on-the-ground competence. But what if you're past the operational stage? What if your job is less about doing HR and more about designing it? That's where the SPHR comes in, the Senior Professional in Human Resources. The SPHR is the strategic counterpart to the PHR's tactical focus. This certification is for the experienced HR leader, the director, the vice president, the HR business partner who sits at the table with the C-suite. The experience requirements are steeper, demanding at least 4 years of professional HR experience with a master's degree, 5 with a bachelor's, or 7 years without a degree. And the exam content is a world apart from the aPHR. The SPHR is not concerned with how to fill out a form or mediate a low-level employee dispute. It's focused entirely on leadership and strategy. It asks questions about organizational design, long-term talent forecasting, developing corporate policy, and influencing business outcomes. It's about seeing the big picture. Think of it this way: the aPHR knows how to win the battle. The SPHR knows how to win the war. They are responsible for crafting the strategies that the aPHRs then execute. Holding an SPHR signals to an organization that you are not just an administrator of HR functions. You are a business leader who uses HR as a tool to drive the entire enterprise forward. It demonstrates a mastery of the financial, ethical, and strategic implications of every people-related decision. Now, here is where HRCI truly shines and sets itself apart, especially for those with global ambitions. They offer the GPHR, the Global Professional in Human Resources. If you work or aspire to work for a multinational corporation with employees scattered across different countries, the GPHR is the undisputed champion. There is simply no other certification that comes close to its focus and depth on international HR. The SHRM-CP and SCP by their own admission, primarily US-focused. The GPHR, on the other hand, is built from the ground up for the global stage. It covers complex topics like developing global talent management strategies, navigating the labyrinth of international labor laws, managing cross-border assignments and relocations, and building a cohesive corporate culture across dozens of different national cultures. Earning a GPHR is a massive differentiator. It tells a global company that you understand the immense complexity of operating in a world where the rules of business, culture, and compliance change every time you cross a border. For roles like Global Head of HR or International Mobility Manager, the GPHR isn't just a nice-to-have. It's often the price of admission. HRCI also dives even deeper into specialization. For instance, they offer the PHRCA, a specific certification just for HR professionals in California. Why? Because California's employment laws are so unique and complex, they're practically their own country. This shows HRCI's commitment to certifying deep, specific, and verifiable expertise. So, when you look at the entire HRCI ecosystem, a clear picture emerges. It's a system built on a legacy of rigor, independence, and a focus on verifiable knowledge and experience. Its certifications are structured like a career ladder, from the aPHR for the newcomer, to the PHR for the skilled operator, to the SPHR for the strategic leader, and the GPHR for the global expert. Choosing an HRCI path is often a choice for those who value this long-standing reputation and want a credential that is recognized as a benchmark of excellence in very specific, often more demanding professional environments. Now we've laid it all out. On one side, you have the modern competency-based powerhouse of SHRM. On the other, you have the original rigorous knowledge-based standard of HRCI. Both are respected. Both can open doors. But they are fundamentally different in their philosophy, their approach, and where their strengths lie. This leads to the ultimate question that every single person watching this video is asking right now: which one is actually better for my career? Forget the theory. Let's talk about jobs, salaries, and what hiring managers really think. It's time to put them in the ring head-to-head. The ultimate showdown, SHRM versus HRCI. We're breaking that down next. Alright, the bell is about to ring. In one corner we have the reigning undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the one with the legacy, the history, and the name that's been on resumes for decades, HRCI, the HR Certification Institute. And in the other corner, the aggressive modern challenger who split from the main event to start their own league. Backed by the biggest name in the business, SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management. This isn't just about two acronyms. This is a battle for the soul of HR certification. It's a clash of philosophies that will directly impact your career path, your salary negotiations, and the way you are perceived in the job market. Let's start with round one: recognition and reputation. This is the big one. This is about what happens when your resume lands on a hiring manager's desk. For the longest time, there was only one game in town: HRCI. They've been certifying HR professionals since the 1970s. Think about that. For nearly 50 years, if you wanted to prove you were serious about HR, you got your PHR or your SPHR. It was the gold standard. It's like the CPA for accountants or the bar for lawyers. Because of this long history, HRCI has immense brand recognition, especially among senior HR leaders, the VPs and CHROs who have been in the game for 20 or 30 years. For them, aPHR is a known quantity. It's familiar. It's trusted. It represents a rigorous, knowledge-based standard they understand because they likely hold the certification themselves. Then, in 2014, the big split happened. SHRM, which was essentially the parent organization and biggest supporter of HRCI, decided to create its own certifications, the SHRM-CP and the SHRM-SCP. This was a seismic event in the HR world. It was like if the NFL decided to create its own Super Bowl trophy to compete with the Lombardi. SHRM is the largest HR professional organization in the world. They have the members, the marketing muscle, and the massive conference. They poured millions into promoting their new credentials, and it worked. In a relatively short amount of time, the SHRM certifications have achieved massive recognition. Today, if you look at job postings, you'll see aPHR/SHRM-CP preferred written side by side almost everywhere. For newer managers and companies, especially in tech or more progressive industries, the SHRM certification is often seen as the more modern, relevant credential. So who wins this round? It's a split decision. HRCI wins on legacy, stability, and recognition with the old guard. If you're applying for a job at a very traditional, established corporation, that aPHR might carry a little more historical weight. SHRM wins on modern marketing, rapid adoption, and recognition with the new school of HR leaders. For most job seekers today, the recognition factor is becoming a wash. Both are respected, and both will get you past the initial screening. But the perception behind that recognition is where things get interesting. This brings us to round 2, the core philosophy. This is the most important round of the fight because it's not about marketing, it's about what you actually learn and how you're tested. HRCI has always been built on a foundation of technical knowledge. It's about what you know. It tests your mastery of the HR body of knowledge, the laws, the regulations, the theories, the best practices. Think of it as the what and the why. What is the Fair Labor Standards Act? Why is a particular compensation strategy effective? It's about having that deep, foundational technical expertise. It's incredibly valuable and ensures you know the rules of the road, inside and out. SHRM, on the other hand, built their certifications around a different idea: behavioral competencies. It's not just about what you know. It's about how you apply what you know in real-world situations. Think of it as the how. It's less about reciting the definition of a law and more about navigating a tricky employee relations issue using your judgment, your communication skills, and your business acumen. They developed something called the SHRM Body of Competency and Knowledge, which puts a huge emphasis on skills like leadership, ethical practice, and relationship management. They test you using situational judgment questions, forcing you to choose the best course of action from a list of plausible options. Here's the best analogy. Imagine you're learning to be a chef. HRCI is like memorizing every recipe in a classic French cookbook. You know the ingredients, the measurements, the cooking times, the science behind why a sauce emulsifies. You are a technical master. SHRM is like being thrown into a real restaurant kitchen during a busy dinner service. You still need to know the recipes, but you also need to know how to communicate with the other cooks, how to substitute an ingredient when you run out, how to handle a customer complaint, and how to lead your team when things get stressful. One focuses on the knowledge base, the other focuses on the application of that knowledge in messy human situations. Neither is inherently better, but they are fundamentally different. The winner of this round depends entirely on you. Do you want to prove your technical mastery or your situational judgment? Round 3, the exam experience. This is where the philosophical differences become painfully real. The HRCI exams, like the aPHR, are known for being very direct. You'll see a lot of multiple choice questions that are knowledge-based. They are designed to test your recall and understanding of specific HR concepts. They are by no means easy, the pass rates hover around 50–60%, but they are straightforward. If you studied the material, you can often identify the correct answer based on established facts and definitions. The SHRM exams are a different beast entirely. They are heavily weighted towards those situational judgment items I mentioned. You'll read a short scenario, a realistic workplace problem, and then be given 4 or 5 possible actions you could take. The tricky part is that often more than one answer seems correct. Your job isn't to find the one right answer and 3 wrong ones. Your job is to identify the most effective action and the second most effective action. You get points for both. This can be maddening for people who are used to black and white right or wrong tests. It's designed to test your judgment, not just your memory. The pass rates are a bit higher, typically in the 60 to 70% range for the SHRM-CP, but many people report feeling less certain about their performance walking out of the exam because of the ambiguity of the questions. The winner here? It's a style versus style matchup. If you're a great memorizer and love concrete facts, you might prefer the HRCI exam. If you're good at reading situations and weighing nuanced options, you might excel on the SHRM exam. Finally, round 4. The money and the upkeep. Let's talk cost. The initial investment for both is pretty similar. You're looking at a few $100s for the application and exam fee, typically in the $400 to $600 range, depending on whether you're a member of the associated organization. The real cost comes from study materials, which can run from a couple hundred to over $1,000 for a full prep course. So, the initial knockout punch on price isn't coming from either side. The real difference is in the recertification. Both require you to earn 60 credits over a 3-year period to keep your certification active. You get these credits from continuing education, attending webinars, going to conferences, taking classes. This is where their business models diverge. HRCI is a pure certification body. They don't care where you get your credits, as long as the activities meet their criteria. You can get them from 1,000 different providers. SHRM, on the other hand, is a massive organization that sells a lot of that continuing education. While you can get credits from other places, it's often easiest to get them through SHRM's own ecosystem of conferences, webinars, and publications. Some see this as a brilliant integrated system. Others see it as a bit of a walled garden, designed to keep you paying into the SHRM ecosystem for your entire career. There's no clear winner on cost, but the philosophy on upkeep is a critical distinction for your long-term planning. So after 4 brutal rounds, what's the verdict? There is no single champion. Declaring one the winner would be a lie. The truth is, the right choice depends on the fighter, and that's you. Are you building a career in a traditional, highly regulated industry like government or manufacturing, where deep technical and legal knowledge is paramount? HRCI might be your corner. Are you in a fast-moving, dynamic industry like tech or consulting, where strategic thinking, influence, and navigating ambiguity are the most valued skills? SHRM might be your trainer. The real winner of this fight is the HR professional who understands the difference, assesses their own career goals and learning style, and chooses the certification that aligns with them. It's not about which one is better in a vacuum. It's about which one is the better weapon for your specific career battle. But this is just the high-level title fight. What about the undercard? What about the specific weight classes? We've been talking about PHR and SHRM-CP, but what about the senior-level SPHR and SHRM-SCP? Or the entry-level aPHR? How do those specific certifications stack up against each other? Now that we understand the philosophical DNA of SHRM and HRCI, it's time to put their individual credentials under the microscope. We're going from the brand-level battle to a feature-by-feature breakdown of the certifications themselves. That's coming up next. Alright, let's start with the big question. Who can even sit for these exams? This is where the paths immediately begin to diverge. We'll look at the 3 main career tiers: foundational, professional, and senior. For those just starting out, maybe you're a recent graduate or transitioning into HR with 0 direct experience, HRCI offers a unique entry point: the Associate Professional in Human Resources, or aPHR. The beauty of the aPHR is its accessibility. There are no experience prerequisites. All you need is a high school diploma or a global equivalent. This makes it the only major certification designed specifically for people to get their foot in the door before they've landed that first HR job. It's a credential that says, I may not have the experience yet, but I've done the work to learn the foundational knowledge. SHRM, on the other hand, doesn't have a direct equivalent to the aPHR. Their entry-level certification, the SHRM Certified Professional, or SHRM-CP, requires you to already be in the field. Even with a graduate degree in an HR-related field, you need to be currently employed in an HR role. If you have a bachelor's degree in HR, you need 1 year of experience. If your degree is in HR-related, you need 2 years. And with less than a bachelor's degree, you're looking at 3 to 4 years of experience. So, the SHRM-CP is for the practitioner who is already practicing. The aPHR is for the aspiring practitioner. That's a critical distinction right at the starting line. Now let's move to the main event, the certifications that the vast majority of HR professionals pursue. HRCI's Professional in Human Resources, the PHR, versus the SHRM-CP. This is the heavyweight title fight. The eligibility for the SHRM-CP, as we just covered, is based on a mix of education and experience. But the PHR has a much simpler, more traditional structure. To sit for the PHR, you need one of two things: either 1 year of professional level HR experience plus a master's degree or higher, or 2 years of experience plus a bachelor's degree, or 4 years of experience with just a high school diploma. Notice the key phrase, professional level experience. This means your work has to involve independent judgment and decision-making, not just administrative tasks. HRCI is very clear about this. They're looking for true practitioner experience. So right away, you need to map out your own career journey. Do you have the specific type of experience HRCI requires? Or does your background align better with SHRM's broader criteria? But eligibility is just the gatekeeper. The real difference is what's inside the exam room. This is where the philosophical DNA we talked about becomes tangible. The HRCI PHR exam is built around what you know. It tests your mastery of the technical and operational aspects of HR. The exam is divided into 5 functional areas: business management, talent planning and acquisition, learning and development, total rewards, and employee and labor relations. Think of it as a comprehensive final exam for the entire body of HR knowledge. The questions are often direct, testing your recall of laws, regulations, and established best practices. It's about proving your technical proficiency. The SHRM-CP exam, in contrast, is built around what you do. It's based on the SHRM Body of Competency and Knowledge, or SHRM-BOK. This framework is split into 2 main types of competencies: behavioral competencies and HR knowledge domains. The behavioral side includes things like leadership, communication, and ethical practice. The knowledge side looks like HRCIs with domains like people, organization, and workplace. But here's the kicker. The exam questions are fundamentally different. A huge portion of the SHRM-CP exam is composed of situational judgment items. These aren't multiple choice questions asking, "What is the Fair Labor Standards Act?" Instead, they present you with a realistic workplace scenario and ask, "What is the best course of action here?" Or "What is the least effective response?" This forces you to apply your knowledge in a real-world context, testing not just what you know, but how you think and behave as an HR professional. It's the difference between memorizing the rules of the road and proving you can actually drive the car in traffic. Now let's climb the ladder to the senior level. HRCI Senior Professional in Human Resources, the SPHR, versus the SHRM Senior Certified Professional, the SHRM-CP. The eligibility requirements scale up as you'd expect. For the SPHR, you need 4 to 7 years of professional level HR experience, depending on your degree. For the SHRM-CP, you're looking at 3 to 7 years, again depending on your education. But the key difference here isn't just more years of experience, it's the type of experience. Both credentials are for strategic leaders. The SPHR exam is designed for the HR leader who is responsible for planning and policy making, not just implementing it. It dives deep into business strategy, accountability, and the long-term vision of the HR function. It still has that HRCI focus on deep functional knowledge, but at a much higher, more strategic altitude. You're not just managing benefits. You're designing the entire total rewards philosophy for the company. The SHRM-CP follows the same competency-based model as its junior partner, but cranks the difficulty and strategic focus way up. The situational judgment questions become more complex, with more ambiguity and higher stakes. They test your ability to align HR strategy with overall business goals, influence senior leadership, and navigate complex organizational politics. If the SHRM-CP is about being an effective HR manager, the SHRM-CP is about being a true strategic business partner who sits at the executive table. So let's talk logistics and numbers. How much does this all cost, and what's the testing experience like? The costs are fairly comparable, but with slight differences. For HRCI exams like the PHR and SPHR, you're generally looking at an application fee of around $100 and an exam fee of around $500. SHRM is in the same ballpark, with exam fees for the CP and SCP typically ranging from $400 to $500, depending on whether you're a SHRM member. Pro tip: becoming a member of either organization almost always saves you money on the exam fee, often more than the cost of the membership itself. As for the tests themselves, they are rigorous. The PHR is a 2-hour and 15-minute exam with 90 scored questions and 25 pre-test questions. The SPHR is slightly longer. The SHRM-CP and SCP are both a hefty 4 hours long, with 160 questions, a mix of knowledge items and those tricky situational judgment questions. Both SHRM and HRCI partner with major testing centers like Pearson VUE, which means you can take the exam at a secure physical location or, in most cases, through a live online proctored option from your own home. But getting the letters after your name is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning. Both SHRM and HRCI certifications require recertification every 3 years. This is non-negotiable, and it's what ensures the credentials remain valuable and current. To recertify, you have to earn 60 credits of professional development. SHRM calls them professional development credits, or PDCs. HRCI calls them recertification credit hours, or RCHs. But the concept is the same. You have to prove you are staying engaged and continuing your education. You can earn these credits in a multitude of ways: attending webinars and conferences, taking college courses, volunteering, giving presentations, or even through on-the-job projects that advance the profession. SHRM has a strong preference for activities directly aligned with its own competency model, while HRCI offers a slightly broader range of accepted activities. The key takeaway is this: certification is not a one-and-done deal. It's a commitment to lifelong learning in the field of human resources. And honestly, in a field that changes as rapidly as ours, that's exactly as it should be. So, we've laid it all out. The different tiers, the eligibility hurdles, the core philosophies driving the exam content, the costs, and the long-term commitment. It's a lot to process. The PHR's focus on proven knowledge versus the SHRM-CP's emphasis on applied competency. The aPHR's open door for newcomers versus the experience requirement for all SHRM credentials. The strategic, policy-driven nature of the SPHR versus the leadership and influence focus of the SHRM-SCP. Now the million-dollar question remains: with all this information, which one is actually the right choice for you? Not for the industry, not for your boss, but for your specific career goals, your learning style, and your professional future. That's the critical decision we need to break down next. So let's build your personal decision matrix. Think of this not as a pros and cons list, but as your personal career compass. For some people, that compass points towards operational excellence and legal compliance. For others, it points towards strategic leadership and influencing change. Your job isn't to find the best certification. It's to find your true north. We're going to do that by looking at 4 critical factors: your career stage, your industry, your learning style, and the practical realities of cost and time. First, let's talk about where you are on the map. Your career stage and ambition. This is the single most important factor. Are you just starting your journey, trying to get your foot in the door? Are you a mid-career professional looking to climb the ladder? Or are you a seasoned veteran aiming for the C-suite? If you're an entry-level professional, maybe a recent grad or someone transitioning into HR, your primary goal is to signal commitment and foundational knowledge. You're trying to solve the classic, can't get a job without experience, can't get experience without a job paradox. This is where a certification like HRCI's aPHR, the Associate Professional in Human Resources, can be a game changer. It has no experience requirement. It tells a hiring manager, I am serious about this field. I have invested my own time and money to learn the fundamentals of U.S. employment law, recruitment, and employee relations. It's a key that can unlock that first door. For those with a bit of experience already under their belt, the SHRM-CP can also serve this purpose, proving you have both practical experience and a grasp of modern HR competencies. Now let's look at the mid-career professional. This is where the real battle royale happens, the classic PHR versus the SHRM-CP showdown. You have a few years of experience. You're good at your job, but you want to move up. Maybe you want to become an HR manager or an HR business partner. Which one is for you? This is where you have to be brutally honest about your strengths and your goals. The PHR, the Professional and Human Resources from HRCI, has traditionally been seen as the gold standard for operational mastery. It's heavily focused on the technical and tactical aspects of HR: compliance, federal and state laws, benefits administration, risk management. If your career path is geared towards being the go-to expert on the rules, the person who can navigate a complex FMLA leave request in their sleep or build a legally airtight employee handbook, the PHR is a powerful signal of that expertise. It says, I know the law, I know the processes, and I can keep this company safe and efficient. The SHRM-CP, the SHRM Certified Professional, takes a different approach. It's built around behavioral competencies. It asks not just what is the rule, but how would you apply your HR knowledge in this tricky situation to achieve the best business outcome? The questions are scenario-based. They test your judgment, your communication skills, your ethical compass, and your ability to think like a business partner. If you see your future self advising managers on difficult leadership challenges, developing people-centric programs, and influencing company culture, the SHRM-CP aligns beautifully with that vision. It says, I understand the business, I understand people, and I can connect the two to drive results. Finally, for the senior leaders and executives, you're already at the top or on the fast track there. You're managing teams, budgets, and strategy. Your focus is on the big picture. Here, the choice is between the SPHR from HRCI and the SHRM-CP from SHRM. The SPHR, the Senior Professional in Human Resources, doubles down on the PHR's foundation but elevates it to a strategic level. It's about designing compensation philosophies, overseeing enterprise-wide risk management, and understanding the business from a high-level operational and legal standpoint. The SHRM-CP, the SHRM Senior Certified Professional, on the other hand, is the pinnacle of the competency model. It's for the executive who is expected to translate the CEO's vision into a comprehensive people strategy. It's about leading change, influencing other executives, and using data to tell a compelling story about human capital. The decision here is subtle but critical. Are you the strategic architect of the HR function, SPHR? Or are you the strategic people partner to the entire business, SHRM-CP? Second pillar, your industry and company type. An HR certification isn't a one-size-fits-all garment. Where you work or where you want to work matters immensely. A small 50-person family-owned manufacturing plant has vastly different HR needs than a 50,000-person global tech company. The small business owner might be far more impressed by aPHR because their biggest HR headaches are compliance, payroll, and safety. They need an expert who can keep them out of trouble. That large tech company, however, might be more focused on talent acquisition, employee engagement, and developing leaders in a fast-paced environment. The competency-based framework of the SHRM-CP or SCP might resonate more strongly there. Think about the industry's focus. Heavily regulated fields like healthcare, finance, or government contracting often place a huge premium on the deep compliance and legal knowledge validated by HRCI certifications. Creative or tech-forward industries might lean towards the SRM model, which emphasizes agility, leadership, and culture. Look at job descriptions for roles you aspire to. Don't just search for HR certification. Search for PHR. Search for SHRM-CP. See which one appears more often in the companies and industries that excite you. The market will give you clues. Third, and this is the one most people ignore, your personal learning and testing style. This is about knowing yourself. How does your brain work under pressure? The HRCI and SHRM exams are fundamentally different beasts. The HRCI exams, the PHR and SPHR, are knowledge-based. They are designed to test what you know. They are direct, fact-based questions about laws, theories, and best practices. If you are someone who excels at memorization, who loves clear-cut information, and who can study a body of knowledge and recall it accurately, the HRCI path is built for you. Think of it as the bar exam for HR. It's about demonstrating mastery of the technical information. The SHRM exams, the SHRM-CP and SCP, are competency-based. They test how you think. The majority of the questions are situational judgment items. They give you a real-world workplace scenario and ask for the best course of action. Often, there are multiple good answers, but you have to choose the most effective one based on SHRM's competency model. If you are a natural problem solver, if you excel at reading between the lines, and if you're comfortable with ambiguity and making judgment calls, you will likely thrive in the SHRM testing environment. It's less about memorizing a law and more about understanding the spirit of the law and how to apply it with nuance and business sense. Ask yourself honestly, am I better at recalling facts or analyzing situations? Your answer is a massive clue. Finally, the fourth pillar, the practical realities of cost and time. Let's be real. These certifications are a major investment. The exam fees themselves can run several $100s. Then you have study materials, which can range from a $100 book to a $2,000 guided course. You need to budget for this. The good news is, many employers offer professional development funds or tuition reimbursement that can cover these costs, so always ask. But the cost doesn't end when you pass the exam. You have to maintain your certification through recertification, which requires earning a certain number of continuing education credits over a 3-year period. This means attending webinars, going to conferences, or taking classes, all of which can have associated costs. It's a long-term commitment. And then there's the time. The general rule of thumb is to plan for at least 100 to 150 hours of dedicated study time. For someone with years of experience, it might be less. For someone new to the field, it could be more. You have to look at your life, your job, your family, your other commitments, and carve out that time. It means saying no to other things. It means early mornings or late nights. Being realistic about what you can truly commit to is essential for success. So there it is, your career compass. It's not about which certification has a better logo or which one your old boss had. It's about a careful, personal calculation based on your ambition, your industry, your learning style, and your resources. By weighing these 4 factors, you move from a state of confusion to a state of clarity. You stop asking which one is best, and you start knowing which one is right for me. But once you've made that choice, an even bigger mountain appears on the horizon: the exam itself. How do you actually prepare? What study materials are worth the money, and which are a waste? How do you create a study plan that guarantees you'll walk into that testing center with confidence and walk out with a passing score? That's where we're going next. Let's build your battle plan. Staring at the massive body of knowledge for a SHRM or HRCI exam can feel like looking at the base of Mount Everest. You know the summit is up there, that shiny new certification, but the path is hidden in a fog of textbooks, practice questions, and conflicting advice. The single biggest mistake people make is simply buying the most expensive study package and starting on page 1. That's not a strategy. That's a slow march toward burnout. Your strategy needs 2 core components: the right tools and the right blueprint for using them. Let's start with the tools of the trade. Your study materials. First, you have the official first-party providers. For the SHRM-CP and SCP, this is the SHRM learning system. For the PHR and SPHR, you have a variety of HRCI-approved providers. The undeniable advantage of these official materials is that they are the source code. They are built by the same organizations that write the exams. The content is comprehensive, meticulously aligned with the exam specifications, and covers every possible competency and knowledge area they could test you on. The SHRM learning system, for example, is a beast. It includes extensive reading materials, online learning modules, practice questions, and flashcards. It's a one-stop shop. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. They are expensive. We're talking well over $1,000 in many cases. And for some people, the sheer volume of information is a double-edged sword. It's so comprehensive that it can be overwhelming, making it hard to see the forest for the trees. You can spend weeks on a minor subcompetency that might only represent a single question on your final exam. So are they worth it? If you have the budget, and especially if your employer is footing the bill, the official materials provide incredible peace of mind. You know you're not missing anything. But they are absolutely not the only path to success. This brings us to the second category of tools: the third-party prep courses and materials. These are the secret weapons for thousands of successful test takers, often at a fraction of the cost. Think of companies like Distinctive HR, HRCI Certified Instructor Victoria Purser, Pocket Prep, Momatrix, and even resources on platforms like Udemy. Their value proposition is different. They aren't trying to be an encyclopedia of all HR knowledge. Instead, they focus on distillation. They excel at teaching you how to pass the test. They trim the fat, focusing on the most heavily weighted topics. They often present information in a more engaging, accessible way than the dense academic style of the official texts. Pocket Prep is a fantastic example for on-the-go learning. It's an app filled with hundreds of practice questions you can do while waiting in line for coffee. It's about micro-learning, fitting studying into the cracks of your day. Others, like the programs from Embagardis or Victoria Purser, offer a more structured, instructor-led feel with boot camps and personalized support, which can be invaluable if you need accountability. The key is to understand that it's not always an either/, or choice. A powerful combination for many is using a more affordable third-party resource as their primary guide, and then cross-referencing with official materials, perhaps bought secondhand or borrowed, to fill in any gaps. Now, having the tools is one thing. Knowing how to use them is what separates the people who pass from those who have to pay to retake the exam. This is your blueprint for success, and it starts long before you open a book. Step 1. Take a diagnostic exam. Before you study a single page, you need a baseline. Most quality prep systems, including the official ones, come with a pretest. Take it under exam conditions. Timed, no distractions, no notes. This is not about getting a good score. The goal is to be humbled. The goal is to get a brutally honest assessment of your strengths and weaknesses according to the exam structure. The results will be your treasure map. If you scored 40% on questions related to business acumen, but 85% on talent acquisition, you now know exactly where to focus your energy first. Step 2. Reverse engineer your calendar. Get your test date on the calendar. Now work backward. A realistic study timeline for most working professionals is 3 to 6 months, dedicating about 5 to 10 hours per week. Don't just say, "I'll study this week." Block out specific, non-negotiable appointments with yourself in your calendar. Tuesday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Study employee relations. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Review compensation and benefits. Treat these appointments with the same seriousness as a meeting with your CEO. This simple act transforms a vague goal into a concrete plan. Step 3. Master active recall, not passive review. This is the most important study technique, and it's where most people go wrong. Reading a chapter, highlighting sentences, and rereading your notes is passive. It feels productive, but the information goes in one ear and out the other. Your brain isn't working to retain it. Active recall is the act of forcing your brain to retrieve information without looking at it. How do you do this? After you read a section on, say, the FMLA, close the book and try to explain the key qualifying events, employee eligibility requirements, and employer responsibilities out loud, as if you were teaching it to a new HR assistant. Or create your own flashcards, and the act of creating them is a powerful study tool in itself. Use the Lightner system or a digital app like Anki to prioritize the concepts you struggle with. The golden rule is this: if you can't explain a concept in simple terms without looking at your notes, you don't truly understand it yet. Step 4. Weaponize practice questions. Do not save all the practice questions for the end. They are not just an assessment tool. They are a primary learning tool. Here's how to use them effectively. At the end of each study block, do a short quiz on that specific topic. This reinforces what you just learned. But the real magic is in the review. For every single question you get wrong, you must dig in and understand why it was wrong. Was it a term you didn't know? Did you misread the question? Did you fall for a tricky distractor answer? Even more importantly, for every question you got right, you need to be able to explain why the other 3 options were wrong. This is the secret to developing the critical thinking skills the exams demand. They don't just test your knowledge, they test your judgment. Many questions will have 2 plausible-sounding answers, but one is more correct than the other. By dissecting why the wrong answers are wrong, you start to see the patterns and logic the test makers use. Finally, let's talk about full-length practice exams. About a month out from your test date, start taking one full-time practice exam every week. The goal here is twofold. First, it builds mental stamina. These are long, grueling exams, and you need to train your brain to stay focused for 3 to 4 hours straight. Second, it perfects your time management. You'll quickly learn if you're spending too long on certain types of questions, and how to pace yourself so you don't end up rushing through the last 30 items. And if you're on a tight budget, don't despair. You can still build a winning plan. Form a study group with colleagues on LinkedIn or Facebook to pool resources and keep each other accountable. Use Quizlet to find free, user-created flashcard decks. Just be sure to verify the information. There are fantastic HR podcasts and YouTube channels that break down complex topics for free. Your local library might have older editions of study guides you can borrow. It requires more hustle, but it's absolutely doable. So, you've got the materials, whether official or third-party. You've built a study plan based on your diagnostic test, you're using active recall, and you're strategically using practice questions to learn, not just to test. You're building the knowledge and the confidence piece by piece. But all that preparation can fall apart in the first 15 minutes of the actual exam if you're not mentally prepared for the environment and the unique pressures of game day. What are the most common non-knowledge-based mistakes that cause smart people to fail? How do you manage test day anxiety? And what's the one thing you absolutely must do the night before your exam to maximize your score? That's the final piece of the puzzle we need to put in place. Let's start with the biggest pitfall: the knowledge-based mistakes that even the smartest people make. These aren't about not knowing the material, they're about how you study the material. The number 1 mistake is passive learning. This is when you read the textbook, highlight passages, and rewatch lecture videos. Feels productive, You feel like you're absorbing information, but you're not. You're just creating what psychologists call the illusion of competence. It's like trying to learn how to swim by reading a book about swimming. You can read about every stroke and technique, but the first time you jump in the pool, you're going to sink. The antidote to passive learning is active recall. Instead of rereading a chapter on FMLA, close the book and try to write down everything you know about it from memory. Or even better, explain it out loud to an empty room as if you were teaching it to someone else. This act of retrieving information from your brain, rather than just pouring it in, is what builds strong neural pathways. It's hard, feels less productive than highlighting, but it's the single most effective way to learn. And the best way to practice active recall? Practice tests. Not just to see your score, but to force your brain to pull information out under pressure, just like on the real exam. The second huge mistake is cramming. We've all done it. You have an exam on Friday, so you pull an all-nighter on Thursday, fueled by caffeine and panic. While this might get you a passing grade on a simple college final, it's a recipe for disaster on a comprehensive certification exam. Here's why: your brain has two types of memory, short-term and long-term. Cramming shoves information into your short-term memory, which is like a leaky bucket. It'll hold the information for a little while, but it quickly disappears. The famous forgetting curve shows that you can forget as much as 70% of what you crammed within 24 hours. The solution is spaced repetition. Instead of studying a topic for 5 hours in one night, you study it for 1 hour a day over 5 days. Or better yet, you review it at increasing intervals. You learn about the ADDIE model today. You review it again tomorrow. Then you review it in 3 days. Then in a week. Each time you force your brain to recall it, the memory gets stronger, moving from that leaky short-term bucket into the Fort Knox of your long-term memory. This isn't just a gimmick. It's how your brain is wired to learn and retain complex information for good. The third study mistake is ignoring your weaknesses. It's human nature. We love to practice the things we're already good at because it feels good. It reinforces our confidence. If you're an expert in compensation, you might find yourself spending hours reviewing compensation models because it's comfortable. Meanwhile, you're avoiding that dreaded chapter on labor law because it's confusing and makes you feel dumb. This is a trap. The exam doesn't care what you enjoy studying. It gives equal weight to all domains. The strategy here is targeted practice. After every single practice test, you need to perform an autopsy on your wrong answers. Don't just look at the score and move on. Create a log. For every question you got wrong, write down the question, the correct answer, and most importantly, why you got it wrong. Was it a pure knowledge gap? Did you misread the question? Did you fall for a tricky distractor? This analysis will reveal your true weak spots. And that's where you need to point your study efforts. If you discover you're consistently missing questions on organizational development, that's your signal to go back and master that section. Studying your strengths is comfortable. Attacking your weaknesses is what gets you a passing score. Now, let's talk about the psychological battle. Managing test day anxiety. You can know every single fact in the body of knowledge, but if you panic during the exam, your brain will shut down. Test anxiety is real. Your heart pounds, your palms sweat. You read a question 3 times and still don't understand it. This is your body's fight or flight response kicking in, and it's terrible for the kind of complex, analytical thinking you need to pass. So how do you control it? First, with a technique called a brain dump. Most testing centers will give you a piece of scratch paper or a small dry erase board. The second your exam timer starts, before you even look at the first question, take 2 to 3 minutes and write down everything you're scared of forgetting. Key formulas, dates, legal acts, mnemonics. Get it all out of your head and onto the paper. This does 2 things. It frees up mental bandwidth so you're not constantly trying to hold on to those facts, and it creates an external reference sheet you can glance at during the test, which is a massive confidence booster. Second, use the 2-pass strategy. On your first pass through the exam, you only answer the questions you know immediately. The low-hanging fruit. If you read a question and have to think for more than a few seconds, or if it looks long and complicated, you mark it for review and skip it. Don't even waste time on it. Just move on. The goal of this first pass is to build momentum, lock in all the easy points, and calm your nerves. You'll be surprised how many questions you can answer quickly. Then you go back for your second pass. Now you can focus all your remaining time and mental energy on the harder questions you skipped. You're more relaxed because you've already banked a significant number of points, and sometimes, a later question can even jog your memory and help you solve an earlier one. And if you feel that wave of panic start to rise mid-exam, stop. Just for 10 seconds. Close your eyes. Take one slow, deep breath in through your nose, Hold it for a count of 3, and let it out slowly through your mouth. Tell yourself, I am prepared for this. I have seen this before. I can figure this out. This isn't some new age nonsense. It's a physiological reset. It interrupts the adrenaline surge and tells your nervous system that you're safe, allowing your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, to come back online. Finally, let's talk about the final 24 hours. This is where many people sabotage months of hard work. So, what is the one thing you absolutely must do the night before your exam to maximize your score? The answer is stop studying. I know it sounds completely counterintuitive. Your instinct is to cram every last possible second. But this is a huge mistake. Last-minute cramming doesn't add much new knowledge. It just increases your anxiety and interferes with the information you've already stored. Your brain needs time to consolidate everything you've learned, and the primary way it does this is through sleep. So your pre-exam ritual should look like this. The afternoon before, do a very light review. Maybe flip through some flashcards for an hour max. Then put the books away. For good. In the evening, prepare everything you need for the next day. Lay out your clothes. Pack your bag with your ID, your admission letter, a bottle of water, and a healthy snack. Check the directions to the testing center. Eliminating these small decisions for the morning reduces stress. Then, do something completely unrelated to HR that relaxes you. Watch a comedy, listen to music, take a walk. Eat a familiar, balanced dinner. Nothing too heavy or spicy. And the most critical part, go to bed early and get a full night of sleep. This is non-negotiable. Sleep is a performance-enhancing drug. On the morning of the exam, wake up with plenty of time so you're not rushing. Eat a solid breakfast with protein and complex carbs for sustained energy, not a sugary donut that will cause you to crash. Arrive at the testing center early. Sit in your car and listen to some music or just breathe. You have done the work. You have prepared your mind and your body. You are ready. This isn't about luck. It's about a process. So you've passed the test. You have the letters after your name. Now what? The certification isn't the finish line. It's the starting gun. How do you turn those credentials into a promotion, a higher salary, and a seat at the table where real decisions are made? That's the final and most important chapter. First, you have to reframe what you just accomplished. That piece of paper, that digital badge, is not a trophy for your wall. It's a key. And for the past few months, you've been grinding, studying, and sacrificing to forge that key. Now it's time to find the right doors and start opening them. The mistake 99% of people make is thinking the key itself is the treasure. They update their LinkedIn, add the letters after their name, and then they wait. They wait for the phone to ring, for their boss to notice, for the world to magically recognize their new value. And they wait and they wait and they get frustrated. The world doesn't reward passive credentials. It rewards proactive value. Your campaign to monetize this certification begins today, and it has 3 fronts: the digital front, the internal front, and the external front. Let's start with the digital front, because it's the fastest and easiest to execute. Yes, you're going to update your LinkedIn profile, but not the way most people do. Do not just add SHRM-CP or aPHR to your name and call it a day. That's the equivalent of whispering your greatest achievement in a crowded room. You need to shout it from the rooftops, but with strategy. Your headline is the most valuable real estate on your profile. It's your digital billboard. Instead of HR generalist at XYZ company, your new headline should be something like SHRM certified HR generalist driving employee engagement and talent strategy expert in HR compliance and performance management. You see the difference? The first one is what you are. The second one is what you do and the value you bring, anchored by the credibility of your certification. Next, your about section. This is your story. It needs a rewrite. You're going to weave the narrative of your certification journey into it. Start with a powerful opening. For an organization to thrive, its people must thrive. As a newly certified HR professional, I've dedicated my career to building the frameworks that make this possible. Then talk about why you pursued the certification. Was it to deepen your understanding of strategic planning? To master complex compensation models? To become an authority on U.S. labor law? State your purpose. This shows intent and passion. It shows you're not just a box checker. End your summary by connecting your new skills to tangible business outcomes. For example, my recent SHRM certification has equipped me with advanced strategies in talent acquisition and retention, which I am eager to apply to reduce turnover and build a world-class team. The second front is the internal campaign. This is your most immediate and often most lucrative opportunity. You work there now. They know you. They have a baseline for your performance. Your goal is to shatter that baseline. You need to formally announce your new capability to the people who determine your career trajectory. Schedule a meeting with your direct manager. Do not do this in a casual drop-by. Send a formal calendar invite with the subject, Discussion, My Professional Development and Future Contributions. This signals that this is a serious, career-focused conversation. When you walk into that meeting, you are not there to ask for a raise. Not yet. That's putting the cart before the horse. You are there to present a business case, and the product is you 2.0. You'll start the conversation like this. Thanks for meeting with me. As you know, I've been working hard over the last few months on my PHR certification, and I'm really proud to have officially passed the exam. I didn't just do this for my own development. I did it because I saw areas where I could bring more value to our team and the company. Then you pivot. You present a plan. You've prepared for this. You have identified 1 or 2 specific problems or opportunities within the company that your new knowledge can directly address. Maybe you say, during my studies on compensation strategy, I learned about a new model for structuring sales incentives that has been shown to increase performance by 15%. I've drafted a brief proposal on how we could potentially adapt that for our sales team. Would you be open to me exploring that further and presenting a plan next month? Or perhaps, my SHRM coursework on risk management really opened my eyes to some potential compliance gaps we might have with the new Department of Labor regulations. I've already put together a preliminary checklist to audit our current policies. I can take the lead on that project, which would free you up to focus on the broader departmental strategy. You see what you've done? You haven't asked for anything. You've offered a solution. You have transformed yourself from an employee who follows instructions into a strategic partner who identifies problems and brings solutions to the table. You've demonstrated initiative, foresight, and a direct link between your certification and the company's bottom line. You do that, and the conversation about a promotion and a raise becomes a natural next step and inevitability, rather than an awkward request. Now, the third front, the external offensive. This is for those of you who want to leverage your certification to land a new, better job. Your updated LinkedIn profile is already working for you, getting you noticed by recruiters. But you need to be proactive. Your resume needs the same strategic overhaul. Under your name and contact info, create a new section called Professional Certifications. Put your SHRM or HRCI certification right at the very top. This is the first thing a hiring manager or an applicant tracking system should see. In the body of your resume, don't just list your job duties. For every role, you need to showcase achievements, and now you're going to tie those achievements back to the competencies of your certification. Instead of saying, Managed Employee Onboarding, you'll say, Redesign the new hire onboarding process, drawing on SHRM principles of employee engagement, which decreased first 90-day turnover by 20%. Quantify everything. The certification gives you the language and the framework. Your experience provides the proof. When you get to the interview, this is where the magic happens. Every behavioral question is an opportunity to anchor your expertise in your certified knowledge. When they ask, tell me about a time you handled a difficult employee conflict, you don't just tell the story. You frame it. You say, that's a great question. My approach to conflict resolution is heavily influenced by the employee relations frameworks I mastered during my PHR certification. For example, there was a situation between 2 department heads. I applied the interest-based relational approach, which involves, and the result was, you are demonstrating that you don't just have experience. You have a replicable, industry-vetted methodology. You are a professional with a toolkit, not just someone with a collection of anecdotes. This elevates you above other candidates instantly. You're not just saying you can do the job. You're explaining the science and strategy behind how you do the job. Finally, there's the long game. Your certification isn't a one-time event. It requires recertification credits to maintain. Do not view this as a chore. View it as a mandated opportunity for growth and networking. Every webinar you attend, every conference you go to, every article you write for credits is a chance to stay on the cutting edge and connect with other high-achieving HR professionals. This network will become one of your most valuable career assets, leading to opportunities you can't even imagine right now. So let's bring this all home. Getting certified was the hard part, the part that required discipline and sacrifice. But this next part, the activation, is the smart part. It's the part that determines your return on investment. You didn't just learn about HR. You became a more valuable business asset. You are no longer just an administrator of policies. You are a strategic partner in human capital. You are the architect of culture, the guardian of compliance, and the driver of talent strategy. The letters after your name are proof that you did the work. But your actions, starting today, will be the proof that you deserve the rewards. So update your digital presence with purpose, build a business case for your internal advancement, and articulate your strategic value in every external opportunity. You earned the key. Now go open some doors. Your seat at the table is waiting.